Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the walk. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Matt Moreno. And in a season where seemingly things have been going all right for the Dodgers thus far, we did get a little bit of bad news, a little bit of a setback. Andrew Heaney, one of the pleasant surprises of this season thus far, moved to the injured list with shoulder discomfort. We've said he's been great this year, 10 1/3 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 16 strikeouts. Not his first time to the injured list with shoulder injury. In 2019, he missed about 3.5 weeks. Dave Roberts says he doesn't expect this to be long-term, Matt, but what does this mean for the Dodgers moving forward, and is this something we should be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's reason to be a little bit concerned just because, the starting pitching depth, I don't want to say that it was thin because they did have like a surplus in terms of numbers, but like with what you're going to sort of get, we at the season, the back end of it was a little bit of a question mark.
Yeah.
So now here we are sort of cutting into some of that depth already. I think injuries, unfortunately, were expected just because of the shortened spring training, especially for pitchers. The good news is, like you said, Dave Roberts doesn't anticipate a long-term issue. A little bit of concern, but at least with Tyler Anderson, the 2 times we've seen him, albeit in a piggyback situation out of the bullpen, he has pitched well. So it certainly could be worse.
Yeah. When Dave Roberts says, I don't expect this to be long-term, I'm like, of course not. Like, what manager comes out after an injury and he's like, yeah, you're not going to, like, it's going to be way worse than it seems like now. The optimism I have is what I mentioned. He has missed time, and it was short. It was about 3.5 weeks, which, I mean, look, nobody is hoping for that. But, the story was he experienced some soreness after his last start, tries to play catch on Wednesday, and didn't feel too good. They decide, hey, let's just be safe, move him to the injured list. And as you said, the Dodgers had 6 legitimate starting pitchers, with Anderson being a guy that didn't really have a role. And so I think if you're the Dodgers right now, you feel fine. Tony Gonsolin just pitched great. You obviously have the big 3 who are healthy at the moment. Anderson, 2 appearances, 8 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 4 hits, no walks. So, I mean, that's all very good. Those are both relief appearances, but it's a guy who started a ton of games, so we're not too worried about that. And so I'm with you. I think if Heaney only misses 2 to 3 weeks, this is no big deal. Things move on. I think if you have another injury to the starting staff while Heaney is still out, then it becomes a question of, is Mitch White the next guy called up? Michael Grove, a guy we interviewed, left a start early. He's on the 40-man roster, has been very good this year. I'm not sure he would make the jump from Double-A to the major leagues, but David Price, Andre Jackson, there's some names there, but I would say there's a big drop-off. I would say there was like Tier 1 is starters number 1 through 3. Tier 2 is starters 4 through 6. And then there's a big drop-off to tier number 3, which is starters 7+. And so I'm with you. I'm not concerned now, but I think you're onto something with the lack of depth. One other thing worth noting, by the way, Zach McKinstry was the guy that was recalled in this move. Interesting that they go pitcher for hitter there. Were you surprised by that one? I mean, they can have up to 16 pitchers right now, and to go pitcher for hitter, were you surprised?
Yeah, that did surprise me. McKinstry was in the clubhouse Sunday morning, and Gavin Lux was dealing with some back issues that was keeping him out for the second straight day. So the assumption was, McKinstry is here, in case they need to make a move with Lux, or they probably want him on the aisle. But then, it ended up being Heaney, kind of out of left field. It did surprise me because also Blake Trinan wasn't available, and now you're moving Tyler Anderson into the rotation. So you're a little bit shorthanded in your bullpen, which, I mean, I guess flip it on its head and say we actually have a surplus. But it was surprising. But I think also too, McKinstry was swinging the bat well for Oklahoma City. He was named Pacific Coast League Player of the Week to start the season. He's obviously been up in the majors before, so I think, and his versatility also helps.
Yeah, and I don't know all the rules. I always get confused about when you can option a guy. I know Clevenger was a guy who just got sent down. I think there are rules about how long he has to stay down before he can be recalled. So if he was the guy that was sort of right on the fringe, maybe they would have recalled him if the timing had lined up. But yeah, you hinted at it. I looked up McKinstry. McKinstry has started the season in 52 at-bats. He's hitting .404, 448 on base, 673 slugging percentage. He's got 8 extra base hits and 52 at-bats at the AAA level. He's also the only sort of major league level player on the 40-man roster that wasn't with the major league roster. They've got 3 or 4 other guys who are all sort of low minors Rule 5 protection types. And so maybe just give him an opportunity to get some at-bats, see what happens. Although I don't know if I'd expect him to get a ton of at-bats because Edwin Rios isn't getting a ton of at-bats. Hanser Alberto's not getting a ton of at-bats. And so it's funny to say like, oh man, they're down a couple pitchers now when it's like, oh, they were at 16. So they were already +3 in the pitching department. Now they are down to that. They're still one above, even if Trinan is unavailable, kind of the normal amount of pitchers on the roster. So I think the Dodgers will be fine. I think the bullpen has been pretty preserved thus far.
Yeah, and I will add, that's a good point about Clevenger. That's not somebody I necessarily thought of. He technically could have come up because you don't need to wait so long as you're replacing an injured player.
Okay.
So, the Dodgers, they, for whatever reason, they wanted to go with a position player, even though, like you said, there aren't many at-bats to go around for their bench.
Yeah, and maybe he was already there. Maybe they're just trying to save some money on a plane flight. They're like, McKinstry's already here. Do we want to book another Oklahoma City to Los Angeles to San Diego? Kind of a travel situation. So, anyways, the headline is Andrew Heaney moved to the injured list. Dave Roberts says he does not expect this to be a long-term deal. Hopefully, maybe just 2 times through the rotation. He's the minimum 10 days retroactive to the last time he pitched, and we go from there. But Tyler Anderson takes his spot in the rotation. We'll face Yu Darvish this weekend. And then Zach McKinstry takes his spot on the roster. That's Matt Moreno. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, updates like this first on DodgerBlue.com. Check out DodgerBlue1958 for the latest on social media. And of course, if you're a podcast person, please subscribe, rate, and review to DodgerHeads on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get that. And please ring the notification bell here on YouTube as well. We appreciate you joining us. We'll see you next time.